I used the Yaya Bot 3000, you know what I mean? And together, we ended up creating an offer that was perfectly tailored to his specific desires. That made me my first 10K sale in 2 years.
Wow.
I don't need to perform for anyone. I'm here to help people. When I made that shift, I started to show up for my business differently. High caliber, affluent, and well-intentioned. They started coming more into my sphere, and former clients would refer those types of people.
From about $2,000 a month to 22 and a half a month in 30 days. And we're going to go deeper into that. But let's start with the basics. Richard, tell us about yourself and welcome.
Well, I have the LinkedIn way of answering that. It's, I'm a high performing men's coach, right? Like I help high performing husbands revive their sex lives in 30 days or less without therapy or taking themselves to YouTube University or reading a bunch of books about attachment theory.
Okay, cool. So before we get into the incredible results you've had, let's do like a little bit of before and after. Like what were things like before? So let's go into like how long have you been in the business? What were things like before? What you tried? What did business look like before? What were you doing?
Yeah, of course. So you have a pretty strong grasp of history, right? Of like European history. You remember the Dark Ages? It's kind of like that. Like rats and the plague, and it was just dark and awful. But in all seriousness, I've been coaching about 5 going on 6 years now, right? I was certified by the John Maxwell leadership team for personal development, leadership, and it was wonderful. Like I had everything that I needed except for how to get clients. And there was, by the grace of God, there was a really wonderful book, Prosperous Coach, right, by Steve Chandler and Rich Littman, which presented this really beautiful idea of, okay, connect with a bunch of people, right, from a heart-to-heart level, serve them, coach them, and then eventually they'll want to work with you, right? And that had been my strategy for my entire career up until this point, to varying degrees of success, and not to poo-poo the book and not to poo-poo that strategy. But there is a bit more nuance involved with having an online business. Like I think it was Dan Henry who said, coaches are not entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a different vibe. We absolutely want to heal the world, and we want to just be like, okay, I'm so focused on transformation, but so many of us totally suck at communicating, right? I remember one of the first times someone said, well, what do you do? And I'm like, place. And that was it. That was my marketing strategy, And I had no idea how to communicate, like what it was I really did, how I did it, and what you got out of it, right? I'm just like, you're a better man. You have more sex. Your marriage is saved. What does that mean? And my content strategy was be impressive and be a know-it-all. And that's not only was that ineffective in terms of creating like my ideal clients or even conversion, but it got me a lot of fans, right? Like you mentioned and you had illuminated to me, I was being an influencer. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's like a big part of my personality, right? Like, okay, cool. Everyone's invited to my party, but everyone was there for free. And that, I was like, okay, cool. Everyone likes me, but I'm broke, right? And I would go through these cash roller coasters, right? In Q1, I would have one client give me $15,000 for like 90 days. Amazing, incredible process, right? And then nothing happens for 4 more months. And then I just had to make that stretch. And it would be this feast or famine roller coaster that just kept me stressed out. It got me to fall out of love with what I do and with the industry, all of these different things, right? And then I would jump from one funnel away to meditating in the mountains, drinking green juice and shaving my head. I'm kidding. This is just baldness. I didn't shave my head, right? So, right. But I would try a million different things. And I always thought, okay, I must be doing something wrong. So let me learn, right? So I would just default to that pattern of, okay, I'm dysregulated and I'm stressed out. I'm not making any money. Let me read another book about business, right? Let me read another mindset book. Let me try and just feel better. And then when we spoke, and again, to varying degrees of success, because there have been a lot of really powerful mentors in my life who have helped me create a bunch of really effective pieces. But that's what they were. They were pieces all over the board, right? So on some level, I knew, okay, like I give value, make offers, and talk to more, right? Add friends, like all of these different things, but they weren't cohesive. Enter Yaya, right? I remember when you asked me the simplest question. You're like, all right, so how do you get clients? I'm like, what? How do you get clients? How do blank? Nothing is here. And I noticed I didn't have a process, right? No process. And then you mentioned things like what's at the top of your funnel? I don't water. I don't know. What is at the top of my funnel, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that you put oil into your car. That I don't understand. And so that made it very, very clear that, it really doesn't matter how good of a coach I was. If nobody knew, and here's the other distinction, even if everyone knows that you're an amazing coach, you could also be talking to just the wrong people, or you could just be talking to people who love what you do and they give you all the pats on the head and they're just cheerleaders. I was in a room full of cheerleaders, but I wasn't in a room full of people that I wanted to help that could pay me at what I wanted to be paid for my services. And so that's where we began to talk. And we had some really great conversations about the distinction between being an influencer and being an authority. That's a huge click for me.
I remember you were routinely going viral on TikTok. That was normal for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I did get like some clients off of TikTok, but it was sporadic.
Yeah.
Right. It was like, hey, I binged all of your stuff. I have a feeling. No one could tell me why they hired.
Yeah.
They're like, I want to be around the celebrity, right? Like, I want to be around this guy I was hired for my vibe for most of the time.
Yeah.
And that was a wonderful feeling. But one of my mentors had mentioned something that completely destroyed me. And he wasn't even trying to be an asshole, but he just said, so some of these people, if they hire you just for who you are, right? And they hired you almost out of charity. They hired you to help you because they liked you so much. Right. And I gave across this energy of like, I'm really good at what I do. Give me a shot, coach. You know what I mean? Well, it's like I would placate to the audience.
I remember
there were times.
Yeah, I remember your standard strategy was DMs. Like working, I first asked you about conversion. You were like, it's all done in the DMs. Like it's like DMs, book a call, blow their mind. I remember that conversation. DMs, book a call, blow their mind, then sign them. I was like, why do you need to blow their mind? And then you were like, because I need to. So what made you, because I never asked you this question, like what made you decide to sort of sign on and Record Breaker work with me? What did that look like?
I'm a pretty emotional dude. And so I'm very like attuned, if you will. And I really appreciated there was zero pressure. You have confidence, right? Like there's zero pressure. It's like you're welcome to join us. But I'm not going to be a tugboat. I'm going to be a lighthouse, right? You have no intention of dragging me. It was a very different experience than a lot of different courses or programs and how a lot of people in your space do this, and because a lot of time the hard sell is like, hey, guess what happens if you don't do this? You die alone and your kids hate you and you're an alcoholic and you're miserable. It's your fault, right?
Yeah.
For us, the conversation was surrounded around more possibility and potential, right? And you have compassion. You've been through what so many of us have been through. So I felt seen, heard, understood, and there was nothing performative about your expertise. It's rooted in, dude, how many businesses have you created and helped them go to 7 figures, right? Like 12, 15, right? I don't know. But
5.
But there was a
You flatter me.
That's what I said.
It's just 5.
Humble brag much, right? So, but there was I've been there and I've done that, and I get it, and you're not wrong. You just need some tweaks. That's one of the best feelings.
Yeah.
It's like, I really just needed a couple tweaks
Yeah.
because I absolutely have the goods. And I knew that. That's what drove me crazy. I had the goods. I didn't know how to sell them.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the big drivers. It was the way that you handle people, because you don't handle us, right? But there's a connection. It's compassion. It's rooted in that. And the expertise. I'm absolutely destined to be a millionaire coach. And this guy knows what he's talking about, but he also cares about me, the human. That was a really big motivator for moving forward.
That's very heartwarming. So what's it been like in Record Breaker? What's your experience in Record Breaker? We'll get to the outcomes. We'll get to the money you've
Yeah.
Sure. But what's it like being in Record? I don't know if you've been in other programs. I think you have. You've been in a couple of courses and stuff, but like, what's it been like?
With that experience that I had mentioned of yours, you thought of everything. And that can be, it can be both overwhelming and it can be a breath of fresh air. Like, you really have thought of everything in terms of there's a really comprehensive and powerful mindset component to this. And then there's everything that we could ever need. It's business in a box to a degree. Like, if I just followed the instructions, right, then, and I'd never spoke to you once, I would have a thriving business. And you thought about all of the different pitfalls. And there was a paradigm shift with how I saw like lead generation and like sniper lead gen, for example, right? Something like creating an audience based off of values, not who applauds you when you put your stuff out there. That was a really big distinction, but you're fully resourced. I was fully resourced without speaking to you. That impressed me, but more so, it was like, I have everything I need. That it reinforced that notion, right? I already have everything I need in here. And then Yaya, he actually put it out in a course for you. And I also have my community, right? So being around a lot of people as often, right? We meet like 2 times per week.
Yeah.
So being around people that are in the same space as me or who are fortunately more successful than me, the rising tide lifts all boats, right? So I was surrounded by a bunch of people who made me better as a default. And there's no douchebags in this program. I was like waiting for someone to be a dick, and there aren't any. You've curated an environment of service and no ego. And that's really hard to do in business. And it's really hard to do with coaching, because there's maybe crypto is where there's the most ego, right? Because some of us are enlightened and performative about it.
Yeah.
So, it was very safe. It's rooted in safety. And I have a big affinity for that, because that's how I work. I work with men, right? I get them to cry and then I get them to get laid because they're open to themselves. Like, safety first. That's what I appreciated. And that's what it's been like working inside of the program.
All right. That's pretty incredible. While you were talking, I remembered, I just want to shift gears and go into tactics for like a minute.
Yeah.
I think you were one of the first people to use the Content Companion AI agent, as well as the Messaging Master AI agent. And you actually built your whole offer using the Content Companion, or you redesigned your offer using that.
Yeah.
So let's talk tactics. Like, what's the stuff that actually for you was like the real needle mover within Record Breaker? What are the things? You had the audience, you didn't have an audience problem. Maybe you were speaking to the wrong people within your audience and you just spoke to the right people. But like, what did you as a client work on the most in Record Breaker?
My ultimate goal was, I want my content to do what your content does. It's the heavy lifting. I want to make it so crystal clear that all you need to do is read 2 to 3 of my posts. You know exactly who I am. You know exactly what I do. Know exactly how to work with me. There is no secrecy. There's no firewall, right? Or whatever that is called. Like, you don't have to jump through hoops in order to work with me. You're like, all right, cool. I get it. I'm in. That's all I wanted. And when I realized that marketing isn't creating content.
Yeah.
That was the big shift. Okay, messaging. How do you help people? With what specifically? What are the problems that they're facing? How do I enter the conversation that's happening in their head? And how do I position myself and this offer as a solution to their problems? The ability to learn how to do that was unimaginable, right? Like from a tactical level, I realized stop dancing for your audience in your content. There's no reason to impress anybody. Speak to the people who are ready. And so I whittled down the who, right? Like I was so crystal clear on, okay, exactly who am I talking to here, right? High performing husbands, usually in the property management or real estate space, because they can afford me, you know. And then, and they're married, they have kids, they have the same value system as I do. They've already read a handful of the books that I would have recommended to beginner clients. It's tweaking their strategies versus just like you did with me.
Yeah.
Hey, you have all the goods, you need a couple of refinements, and to put all of this together. Learning how to communicate that was incredible. The AI component of it helped me become a better writer because it helped me understand that number one, I ramble like a lot, right? Like I would ramble and I would take 10,000 words to make one point. And it is possible for that happy medium of keep the artistry. Don't let the robot do the work for you. That to me is inauthentic, right? Like I'm an artist. This is a tool. It's a very, very powerful chisel. And so it helped me to refine my message. It helped me to create an offer. It helps me to extract so much gold from the transcripts of my recorded calls. I've become very intentional about market research. I've become very intentional about serving my guys, right? And what exactly can help them. And I've become very intentional about communication. Those have been some of the biggest needle movers.
All right.
Right. I have so much data, but I know what to do with it.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Now,
I remember one of our conversations was also you're sitting on a gold mine of content. You just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
When we talked about that. Cool. Now let's get to the fun stuff, the outcome. Talk to us about the 22 from 2 to 20 in a month. What does that look like? I remember,
Yeah.
I don't know if people saw this or not, but right when we started the call, I was like, why are you so calm? You was like, dude, money makes you calm. calm. So,
Money calms you down.
money calms you down.
Well, first of all, I thought we were already doing the fun stuff, but all right, never mind. So the shift, the internal shift, I want to talk about that first. The internal shift that happened, I don't need to perform for anybody. I'm here to help people. When I made that shift, I started to show up for my business differently. And from an energetic standpoint, I began to call forward. I was talking to more high level, right? Higher caliber, not quality men. We're all the same under the eyes of God. But in terms of, I aligned with what I want to create. High caliber, right? Affluent and well-intentioned men. They started coming more into my sphere. They started commenting more. They started just like thumbs upping, started reaching out. And I started, former clients would refer those types of people. So one of my clients referred his little brother, right? Who was a real estate badass. And he referred him over to me. And then dreams come true. The content did a lot of the heavy lifting for me. Not only that, but the referral absolutely helped that cosign. So we get on a call, right? I get to know him. And we have some really beautiful conversations at the front end. And then it becomes a no-brainer for him, right? I used the data from the recorded calls, right? I used the Yaya Bot 3000, you know what I mean? And together, we ended up creating an offer that was perfectly tailored to his specific desires. That made me my first 10K sale in 2 years.
Wow.
And then here's the funny part about it. I wanted to keep it in the family. So I start to raise the standard of how I show up as a leader. And I did that with my client who had referred his little brother, right? So we got on the call, and then Richard 2.0, the Lionheart, right? The record breaker. He shows up and he's like, hey, I've noticed that there's been some leaks in the energy of this, that there's been, and I wanted to ask a couple more questions rooted in the data that I've received, rooted in who I've been becoming. And we found a even bigger problem that I'd been helping. And we found what was underneath that. And then he ends up cracking and he ends up opening up. And he's like, yeah, what we had was cool. I want more than this. And I was like, I can give you more than that. Right. And so we found what he really wanted. And then he moves forward with another 10K sale, not 2 weeks later. And it's that laser-like precision that was found in taking your market research seriously and getting crystal clear on the who and the what. I am the how.
Yeah.
But the who and the what is what you helped me clearly define, to the point where my Facebook one-liner, right? Like, I've struggled with that thing for 5 years, but now, okay, I get it. That level of clarity gives you that confidence, and that confidence is what allows to be, oh yeah, okay, it's going to be a 10K investment, right? They can break that down into 2 or 3 payments, but let's dance.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man.
This is what you get. This is how it works.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I think far more than the money, it's always how it impacts your life and who you are and how you see things and the confidence you get. And so, do you want to add anything to the how it impacted your life? Because generally we get an outcome and the outcome results in like a cascade effect. Confidence is one of them. Belief in yourself is one of them. But then I have a question that I normally reserve for, that I don't give away. The question is, what did you learn from me that I didn't intentionally set out to teach you? So you learned the who and the how, you learned how to communicate, you learned all these things. What did you learn from me that I didn't intend to teach you or set out to teach you?
Got it. The answer will be two-parter. The things that have changed that on a personal level. Well, my kids don't behave any better. So I thought that would happen when I started to make more. They're just happier.
Mine don't either, dude. Today my
happier.
He's like, well, you don't work. How do you make money? You don't work. I'm like, what do you think I do in my office all day long? He's like, but you don't work. So anyway, yeah, man.
I really thought that they'd be better behaved, but they're happier though that I can afford them a tablet and an electric scooter. So, them and wifey, they're all like, wifey's all of a sudden in a much better mood. Like, it's like, surprise, surprise, I'm as shocked as anybody. But I will say though, on a very personal level, from my heart, is I don't feel worried about money, not because I have some, right? Where I've come from, I was homeless for 2 years during the pandemic. Like, I lost everything. You know what I mean? I had to rebuild my life brick by brick, right? And so I know what it's like to have literally nothing with your woman in the car living in a Nissan Sentra. So I'm not bougie. You know what I mean? I'm pretentious when it comes to art, not when it comes to this stuff. But so it's a really nice change, but I'm not worried about money in as far as I know how to make it now consistently, because I have the sequence and the tools and the mind frame that makes it all cohesive. So that's one of the greatest gifts that I think I can really just truly thank you for, is putting all of this business stuff together, right? Now I'm not worried about money. I know how to make it. I know how to market something. I know how to make it juicy, and I know how to provide. And that, as a man, is my most important value, And so that's one of the biggest things. And I think, that answers the question. I also think it answers the second part of your question. What did you not intend to you didn't set the intention of teaching me how to survive anything. Like the byproduct of education, right, was the identity shift from someone who runs around like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to impress everybody and trying to make money by being impressive, by singing and dancing for their supper, versus an expert. I feel like an expert now.
Yeah.
I feel and conduct myself like an expert. Number one, because I don't know anything. So humility in my expertise. But honestly, though, the thing you taught me is how to not be worried about money. That's it. That's the thing that you accidentally taught me, right?
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Like, I wish I taught that intentionally. That's beautiful. Because genuinely, man, I think that's one of the best gifts you can give to an entrepreneur, to not be worried about money, to have it figured out, to know when they can. Like, that's the number one thing that plagues coaches and consultants and course creators. They're always running after leads because they're afraid they're not going to make money. It's a buy or die funnel. Like, either you buy right now or you're gone forever. And so
you teach entrepreneurs how to fish.
If there was another Richard sitting and watching you, or if there were 100 more Richards watching you, because there are people similar to you, people who have the audience. They might not think they have the audience, but people who feel like they need to perform and they need to dance or put on a show to make an honest day's living, people who are running from pillar to post, feast and famine months, so on and so forth. What would your advice, what would you tell them if they're in the situation you were in? What would you say to them or advise them with the wisdom you have now?
If they're all me, what I would say is, you're not spitting in the face of any of the former mentors that got you here by moving forward with another one, right? Every single person that helped build you up to get here has gotten you here. And let this guy, let this program, let this movement of record breakers take you to the next level, right? Shift how you see it, because you're so motivated by guilt and fear and people pleasing. This is where you go to heal that. And when you heal that in here, it shows up in how you communicate in your content. You don't people please in your content. You don't people please in your sales calls. You don't people please in your coaching anymore, right? That's what I would say to them. I would say, you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. You're not disappointing anybody by taking the next step and treating yourself like a business owner. You spent a lot of time being profound and healing the world. But if you want to continue to do this in the face of the internet and AI apocalypse and a bunch of nukes are being thrown around, right? In the face of the end of the world, learn how to treat yourself like a business owner and put all of these pieces together so you don't ever have to worry about that again.
That's beautiful, man. That's deep. I wouldn't expect anything else off you. It's a very Richardian thing to say. That's beautiful. I really hope that this interview, for everyone who's watching, I hope this inspires you. I hope this gives you insight into Richard's story, into your story, if your story is reflective of Richard's, and if you're facing the same problems and issues. I hope it inspires you to move further and forward towards because I know for a fact that no one likes performing. No one, even people pleasers, don't like being people pleasers. No one likes having to be someone to make an honest day's living. Anyway, thank you, Richard. Congrats once again. This is just the beginning. I've told you, we're going places. We're going to rock and roll.
Yes, sir.
I'll see you all. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.